right, welcome to Full Plate. Just like the song says, I am so glad you're here. We had a really cool opportunity to interview an author earlier in the week. Her name is Wendy Jo Peterson, and she is one of the co-authors of the Mediterranean Diet Cookbook. Just what is a Mediterranean diet and why should you try it? Well, take a listen to Wendy Jo. We have a chance to take a look at a fantastic new cookbook and talk to one of the cookbook authors. It's called Mediterranean Diet Cookbook for Dummies. And joining us now, one of the co-authors is Wendy Jo Peterson. You are a registered dietitian, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, I love this book. First off, great job. We're actually fighting over it in the newsroom. My first question, though, is I call myself a dietologist, meaning I study all diets. It's no actual title, it's made up. But I do.
Chronic disease in the United States.
Exactly. The question, though, that I have is I'm a big fan of the Mediterranean way of eating. So explain, though, to our viewers, what is the Mediterranean diet?
You know, the Mediterranean diet actually has a lot more to do with fruits and vegetables. You know, the average American only gets about 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, whereas over there, they're really looking at gracing their plate of 3 to 5 per meal. So that's a big shift, you know, from what we typically do. But in general, too, you know, they focus a lot more on healthy nuts, olive oil, getting in more olives, fish. And even though, you know, people think, oh, pasta and bread, their portion consumption is much smaller than ours because they're really a lot more tuned in on overeating and being full. Whereas, you know, we will go out and somebody will say, oh yeah, I'm wearing my fat pants tonight, so making sure I can eat more barbecue. You know, and that's just not how they approach food.
It's much more an intense enjoyment, would go for a smaller portion of something that's really fantastic.
Absolutely. So yeah, appreciating, savoring, and feeling very satiated from the foods that you are eating versus going through so fast through the meal where you're not even really tasting it.
Let's talk about then some of the staples of Mediterranean diet cooking. What are the go-to items that you'd be using?
So kind of like what I have here, you know, one of the big things that I use all throughout the book is citrus. So using lemon, lime, orange, the zest, which is using a microplane, super simple, loaded with flavor as well as nutrition. You know, just putting a little bit of this over top of anything like salads, your favorite fruits, your Greek yogurt, whatever you want to do, a little bit of lemon juice and olive oil. You know, adding that, just a small amount, and then some fresh herbs. Those are some of my favorite tips to say, hey, you know what? Chop up some fresh basil, fresh dill, parsley, top it onto your favorite beans, and voila, you have a great side dish that came from a can. Super simple.
Super simple. The other thing,
simple.
You have a section here that I like about weight loss, and you talk about calorie consciousness, not necessarily counting every single one. Talk about sort of a shift in the way we think about the portions and the calories when it comes to doing a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're touching on that because a lot of times it kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, you know, that satiation and being intuitive and mindful as you sit down to your plate. You know, they eat more foods that are higher in fiber and you know, something as simple as like a date, right? Dates are really popular over throughout the Mediterranean region. Now, they're very sweet, so it's almost like candy, but if you eat too much of this, you're going to be running for the restroom. So it's a way to regulate you. You know, it's like if you can eat a bag of M&Ms or any kind of candy in our country and you can just keep going, right? We can just keep downing that 5-pound bag. Whereas you're not going to be eating a 5-pound bag of dates. No way, no how.
Stop you.
And that's the cool thing behind the Mediterranean diet. It is, you know, people are really in tune to what they eat. They enjoy that process. And because they do so, you actually fill up quicker, and they know that now by research.
So we're going to be cooking some of the things in this book for our viewers, maybe this week, maybe next week. I like so many recipes in here, it's going to be hard to choose. But of the things that are in here, do you have a favorite one or two that, oh, definitely you want to share this one?
So, okay, so in that insert in the book, there's a Mediterranean flank steak. Perfect for the summer, and I've had rave reviews every time I've taken it to the grill. And one of my mainstays almost every single week are grilled pizzas.
Grilled pizzas, we just did that. It's fantastic. It's a great way to get out of the
I
kitchen.
love it.
All right, and then you
Yes,
also
you're not going
have-
to heat up your house.
Exactly, totally true, and it's perfect for the Mediterranean too. It's nice and warm there. What I saw at the end though is you've got some desserts. Desserts are a little bit different. That is something to get used to. It's not, you were saying, it's not a bag of M&Ms or a chocolate chip cookie. Talk about the dessert. You can have it, but you got to get used to something a little different.
Okay, so this is one of the things that I do all the time for dessert. I take a date, a half of a date, and a little bit of an almond. And just by having that small amount and maybe doing a little bit of grated chocolate or grated orange rind right over the top, you would be surprised the amount of sweet, crunchy, amazing flavor and sweet that you're actually going to get from this. And this is a traditional cookie that's also found in my book.
Fantastic. So it's not a fad. It's actually research driven in terms of people have studied the Mediterranean diet, and it keeps coming back as one of the most effective, most healthy way that you're going to live your life. If you really want to do a lifestyle, this is something to consider. So how, I guess, talk about that it is research based, that it really is showing to be an effective way to eat if you want to keep your health in check.
So we had some huge study that came out called the EPIC study out of Spain just this past February, and the New England Journal of Medicine focused on that. What happened was they looked at people who have high risk for heart disease, and they put them on the Mediterranean diet, and they had the control group. They found such overwhelming benefits that they actually had to stop the study early and tell the control group, because otherwise it would have been considered unethical not to share that information, because they found that big, overwhelming of a benefit from it, which is amazing. And then from that study now they're looking at dementia, which Alzheimer's is a big concern, and we know that the protective fats such as avocados and olive oil really do provide healthy protective qualities for our brain.
Okay, so before we go, I want to real quick touch on the part of tens. That's part of the book. Talk about what that means.
So the part of 10 is just making sure that you're part of those 10 things that you want to keep on. So you'll definitely have to check out the book to see what's going on with that.
Okay, so talk about then how we get a hold of the book. I got my copy right here, and I'm not giving it away to anyone. Sometimes I do, but this I am keeping.
Dummies.com.
Dummies.com.
Yeah, check out dummies.com.
All right, thank you so much,
Please
Wendy
do.
Jo. It's a fantastic book, and again, visit dummies.com if you want to get your copy today. A little bit later, we're going to make one of the recipes from the book that I can't say it, she suggested. There we go. All right, when we come back, though, what should be in your book bag for the summer?